Hi, I'm David. There's several diagnostic trouble codes that are associated with a mass airflow or MAF sensor. In this diagnostic module, we'll look at the P0102 sensor low DTC. The MAF sensor sends information to the engine control module, or ECM, about the amount of air entering the engine. This can be an analog signal via a changing voltage or a digital signal via a changing frequency. The voltage or frequency produced by the MAF sensor changes as the rate of airflow changes. This information makes it possible for the ECM to maintain the required air-fuel ratio and to compensate for variations in atmospheric pressure. If you have any MAF sensor DTCs and a no-start situation, disconnect the MAF sensor and try starting the engine. If it starts under these conditions, then the fault is probably the sensor itself. This is a typical MAF sensor circuit. There is a 12-volt supply coming from the fuse box, a ground or low reference, in this case coming from the engine control module, and the signal wire. From the fault table, it can be seen that a P0102 is caused by a short to ground on the signal wire. This fault could be in the sensor, the wiring, or the module. If you have access to a scan tool, then you can have a look at the MAF signal information to confirm the DTC. Check the battery voltage first so that you have a reference to compare your readings to. It's a good idea to set the range to 2 decimal places. This will allow the meter to read quicker and prevents any misleading readings in millivolts. Disconnect the sensor, and with the ignition on, you can measure the voltage between the signal terminal at the sensor connector and ground. The reading should be between 4.8 and 5.2 volts. If the reading is within this range, then the sensor will be short to ground. This can be checked by measuring the resistance on the sensor from the signal wire to the ground connection. If there was no voltage on the signal wire, then you would need to check for a short to ground. The simplest way is to leave the multimeter connected to the sensor signal wire and move the other lead from battery negative to battery positive. If there's battery voltage here, then the circuit must be short to ground. This could be located in the harness or the module. Turn the ignition off, disconnect the ECM, and check your reading again. If the ground is still there, then the signal wire must be short to ground. You could now go to any connectors in the circuit and repeat the test to try and isolate the fault to a particular part of the circuit. If the short to ground is now gone, the fault must be the signal wire is shorted to another ground coming from the ECM or the ECM itself. One way to check the harness is to connect one probe of the multimeter to the signal wire at the sensor connector and see if you have a connection to any terminal other than the signal at the ECM. If you have access to a signal tracer, then it will be much easier. Simply connect the tone generator to the signal wire and see if the probe can pick up the tone on any other wire. If either of these methods don't produce a result, then the fault must be in the module. There you have the diagnosis for P0102. Check all areas of concern. Don't assume things are correct. Test them. And as with all DTCs, once you've found the fault, clear the codes, take it on the appropriate drive cycle and retest. And remember, training is the key to your success. Bye for now.